Emily stared at her phone, her hands trembling. The bank app showed 3 new charges she didn't recognize. Over $1,200 at a designer store, another $600 at an electronics shop, and one more for a luxury watch she would never buy. Her stomach twisted. She had been working double shifts for months, saving every dollar for law school. Now, her savings were dripping away into things she didn't even own. She called the bank, her voice shaking, asking if maybe it was a mistake. The agent confirmed. The purchases were made with her card number, but not the physical card. Emily froze. Someone had her details. Someone close. Later that evening, when she walked into Marcus's apartment, she noticed a sleek new pair of sneakers by the door, the kind she knew cost almost a week of her pay. A glossy shopping bag lay half-hidden under the couch. Marcus came out of the bedroom, grinning, his wrist flashing a brand-new watch she had never seen before. Her heart dropped. "Marcus, where did you get all this?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. He laughed like it was nothing. "Come on, babe. I've got my ways. Don't worry about it." But she did worry. She couldn't stop staring at the watch, the sneakers, the expensive hoodie he was now pulling over his head. Every piece looked like the charges on her account. She wanted to believe she was imagining it, that Marcus had finally gotten a side job or some miracle money. But the timing was too sharp, too exact. The betrayal pushed at her chest like a weight she couldn't breathe under. That night, alone in her room, Emily scrolled through her bank statements again and again, whispering numbers under her breath. Tears blurred her eyes. She wanted answers, but more than that, she wanted it not to be true. She wanted to wake up and find out her trust wasn't being ripped apart by the one person she thought she could lean on. Still, the picture was forming, and it was terrifyingly clear. Marcus had something to do with it. Her world was beginning to crack. Emily had never been the kind of girl who waited for life to hand her something. She grew up in a small apartment with her mother, who worked long hours as a nurse. Money was always tight, but her mother taught her to be strong and to rely on herself. From the time she was 16, Emily was working after school, saving whatever she could. Now, at 24, she still carried that same drive. Her days were long and exhausting. In the mornings, she worked at a local coffee shop, smiling at customers even when her eyes burned from lack of sleep. In the evenings, she cleaned offices downtown, pushing carts of supplies and scrubbing desks while everyone else went home. It wasn't glamorous, but every paycheck went into her savings account. She had a plan: law school. She dreamed of one day walking into a courtroom, standing tall in a suit, and finally feeling like all the sacrifice had meant something. It wasn't just about ambition. Emily wanted security, a future where she would never have to worry if her card would decline at the grocery store. She wanted to prove to herself, and maybe even to her mother, that she could build a life bigger than the one she was born into. When she met Marcus, he felt like a piece of that bigger life. He was charming from the first moment, the kind of man who could talk his way into any room. He always had a story about the future he was planning, big ideas about business ventures and success. Emily liked his energy. He made her laugh. He made her feel like she wasn't carrying the whole world on her shoulders. But Marcus was different from her in one clear way. He never seemed to worry about money. He spent freely, joked about debts, and brushed off responsibilities with a smile. At first, she ignored the small warning sign. When he borrowed cash and promised to pay her back, she told herself he just needed a little time. When he splurged on nights out even though he said he was broke, she told herself he was just optimistic. He was the opposite of careful, but Emily convinced herself that maybe opposites balanced each other out. Her mother never approved. She would look at Marcus with sharp eyes, her lips pressed tight. "Emily," she once said, "men like that will charm you right out of your hard-earned money if you're not careful. Don't lose yourself in someone else's dream." Emily hated those conversations. She didn't want to admit that her mother might be right. She wanted to believe that love could soften the edges of Marcus's recklessness. Still, there were moments when doubt crept in. Late at night, when she was too tired to sleep, she would wonder why Marcus never seemed to have steady work, why his stories about big plans never became reality. But then he would hold her hand, call her his ride or die, and she would swallow her questions. Now, everything felt heavier. With the strange charges on her card and the expensive items Marcus had suddenly acquired, Emily's world was shaking. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about trust, about whether she had ignored too many red flags because she didn't want to be alone. The stakes were rising in a way she couldn't avoid. Her savings meant everything to her future, every dollar bringing her closer to law school. If Marcus had really betrayed her, it wasn't just a financial loss. It was a break in the foundation of who she trusted, a crack in her belief that love could survive flaws. Emily wasn't just fighting for money now. She was fighting for her own sense of safety, her dreams, and her heart. And she didn't know if she was strong enough to face the truth waiting for her. Emily sat across from Marcus at his kitchen table, her bank statements printed out in her hand. Her voice was low but sharp. Marcus, I need you to be honest with me. These charges on my card, did you make them? He leaned back in his chair, eyebrows raised like she had insulted him. What? Emily, are you serious right now? Why would I steal from you? Her throat felt dry. Because you suddenly have new sneakers, new clothes, a watch. And the dates match. Tell me the truth. Marcus scoffed, pushing his chair back with a scrape. You think so little of me? You've been working too much, you're tired. And now you're imagining things. Maybe someone hacked your card. Emily's chest tightened. He was twisting it, making her feel foolish. The bank said the purchases were local, Marcus. Same stores you shop at. He shook his head. Babe, listen to yourself. You're paranoid. Do you really think I'd need to steal from my own girlfriend? I'm working on things, I've got money coming in. You don't trust me, that's the problem. She felt her eyes burn with tears. He was flipping it, blaming her, making her doubt herself. For a moment she wanted to believe him, wanted to believe she was wrong. But later that night, her phone buzzed with a message from her friend Jasmine. Girl, is Marcus rich now or what? Attached was a screenshot from Marcus's social media story, him posing with shopping bags, wrist angled to show off the new watch. His caption read, hard work pays off. Don't hate the grind. Emily's stomach dropped. She stared at the photo until her hands went numb. The sneakers by his door, the watch flashing on his wrist. Everything matched the charges draining her account. It wasn't a stranger stealing from her. It wasn't some faceless hacker. It was him. The man she trusted. The man who kissed her goodnight. The man she defended to her mother. Her breath came in short, broken gasps. She felt sick, betrayed in a way that pierced deeper than money. Every hour she had spent working, every sore muscle, every night she dragged herself home exhausted. It had gone to fund Marcus's show of success. He was using her sacrifices to build his image, pretending he was the one grinding while she carried the real weight. Emily dropped the phone onto her bed and pressed her hands over her face. She wanted to scream, to cry, to throw something across the room. But instead she sat in silence, the betrayal sinking into her bones. The truth was undeniable now. Marcus wasn't just careless or reckless. He had stolen from her. He had lied to her face, looked her in the eye, and made her feel crazy for even asking. It wasn't just money he had taken. It was her trust, her safety, the fragile hope she had built around their love. And in that moment, Emily knew nothing between them would ever be the same again. Emily didn't answer Marcus's calls for 2 days after seeing the screenshot. She needed space, but Marcus didn't give her any. He showed up outside her apartment, knocking hard on the door, shouting her name until the neighbors peeked through their blinds. When she finally opened the door, his face was full of fake concern. Why are you acting like this? Over some dumb charges? You're overreacting. She kept her arms crossed, blocking the doorway. You used my card, Marcus. Don't lie. I saw the post, the watch, everything. It's my money. His jaw tightened, but instead of admitting it, he smirked. So what? You're really going to throw us away over a little help? I needed it. I thought we were a team. You're supposed to believe in me. Emily felt her stomach turn. A team doesn't mean stealing behind my back. His expression darkened. You're ruining my future with this attitude. I was building something, and now you're trying to make me look like a thief. Do you even know what that does to me? To us? The way he twisted the words made her head spin. Somehow he made it sound like she was betraying him. She slammed the door in his face, but his voice carried through the wood. You'll regret this, Emily. Don't forget, I know things about you. You want people to find out. Her knees went weak. She slid down to the floor, shaking. He was threatening her now. Days later, her bank called. Because of the suspicious charges, her account was frozen until the investigation cleared. Emily stood in line at the grocery store, a basket in her hand, and her card declined. People behind her sighed impatiently as she fumbled with her phone, cheeks burning with humiliation. She had never felt so small. That night, she sat with her mother at the kitchen table. Her mom's face was hard, her voice firm. Emily, listen to me. This man is no good. He's bleeding you dry. Walk away before he drags you down with him. Emily's eyes filled with tears. It's not that easy, Mom. I loved him. I thought he cared about me. Her mom reached across the table, holding her hand. Love without respect is nothing. You deserve better than someone who steals from you. Her best friend Jasmine was just as blunt. On the phone she said, Girl, he's trash. I told you he was no good. You need to cut him off for good before he ruins your whole life. Emily wanted to listen. She wanted to walk away, but her chest ached with confusion. She remembered the way Marcus used to hold her, the nights he whispered dreams into her ear, the laughs they shared when life felt too heavy. Part of her still wanted to believe that man was real. But each time Marcus called, each message he sent, the tone got sharper. You think you can just block me? After everything I gave you? Don't forget, I know your secrets. You want the world to hear them. Her hands shook as she read those words. She knew what he meant, things she had told him in confidence, fears she had shared late at night. He was threatening to weaponize her own vulnerability against her. That was the moment Emily decided she couldn't just sit back anymore. She began saving every text, every voicemail. She downloaded the screenshot Jasmine had sent and stored copies of her bank statement. Quietly, she kept a small notebook, writing down the dates and times of his visits, his threats, his manipulation. She didn't tell Marcus. She acted calm when he managed to corner her, nodded just enough to keep him from exploding. But inside, she was building something, a case, a wall, a plan. Still, the conflict inside her was heavy. At night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, torn between anger and love. One moment she wanted to scream at him. The next she remembered his smile and wondered if things could ever go back to the way they were. Her heart and her mind were at war, and the pressure of carrying both was tearing her apart. Emily knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about survival. And the more Marcus pushed, the more she realized she had to be ready for the fight of her life. Emily thought she had already seen the worst of Marcus's betrayal, but the truth came crashing down when a letter arrived in the mail. It wasn't from her bank. It was from a credit card company she had never applied to. The balance was already over $3,000. Her name, her address, but she had never signed up for it. Her hands shook as she tore open more envelopes. One after another, she found bills from accounts she didn't even know existed. Marcus hadn't just stolen her card detail. He had used her identity to open new credit lines. Her chest tightened as if the air had been sucked from the room. He hadn't only taken her money, he had stolen her future. If she didn't fix this, law school might not even accept her with debts and fraud tied to her name. That night, she went to confront him, slipping her phone into her pocket with the recorder on. Marcus was sprawled on the couch, scrolling his phone like he didn't have a care in the world. "Marcus," she said, holding up the letters. "What is this? Accounts in my name? Thousands of dollars in debt." He barely looked up. "Relax, babe. It's just temporary. Once my plans come through, I'll pay it all off. You'll thank me later." Emily's voice cracked. "You forged my name. You ruined my credit. Do you even understand what you've done to me?" Marcus chuckled, shaking his head like she was being dramatic. "You act like this is some big crime. We're together, aren't we? What's yours is mine. Don't be so uptight." Her stomach turned. "You used me. You lied. You stole everything I worked for." Finally, his eyes narrowed, his smile fading. "So what? You think anyone will believe you? You've been living with me, spending time with me, letting me handle things. Who's going to believe you didn't know? You're not going anywhere." But he had said too much. Every word was being recorded, his arrogance making him careless. He thought she would never leave. He thought his grip on her was strong enough to silence her. The next morning, Emily walked into the police station with the recording, the letters, and her notebook full of threats and detail. Her voice shook as she explained everything, but the officer listened carefully, nodding, taking copies of her evidence. She went straight to the bank afterward, handing over the same files. For the first time, she felt like she wasn't drowning alone. She was fighting back. Marcus didn't stay quiet. Within hours, friends started messaging her. "Why is Marcus saying you're out to ruin his life? He says you're crazy, that you're making up lies because he broke up with you." Emily's stomach knotted as she scrolled through his posts. Marcus had already started spinning the story, painting himself as the victim, calling her unstable, even mocking her for chasing clout with fake drama. The comments were brutal. Some people believed him, calling her bitter, jealous, even dangerous. It cut deep. She wanted to defend herself, to scream the truth to everyone. But she knew arguing online would only feed his lies. Instead, she chose silence, letting the evidence speak louder than his words. The hardest part wasn't the money or the humiliation. It was letting go of the love she once felt for him. Standing in her room that night, listening again to his voice on the recording, Emily's tears slid down her cheeks. This was the man she had defended to her mother, the man she once imagined a future with. Now his voice was nothing but proof of betrayal. Her heart broke, but she held on to something stronger than the pain, dignity. She wasn't going to beg him to stop lying, and she wasn't going to shrink herself in shame. Marcus could call her crazy, but she knew the truth. She had the proof, and she had the strength to stand on her own. For the first time in weeks, Emily took a deep breath that didn't feel like it was choking her. She was scared, yes, but beneath the fear, a spark of determination burned. Marcus had tried to steal her money, her identity, even her voice. But she was done letting him. The call came 2 weeks later. Emily was at work when the officer told her Marcus had been arrested. Fraud, identity theft, multiple accounts under her name, and even under others. Her knees almost gave out, but she gripped the counter and nodded silently. The relief was sharp, almost painful. For the first time, she felt like justice was real. The bank cleared her name soon after. The frozen accounts were released. The false debts erased once they confirmed Marcus had opened them without her consent. Sitting in the manager's office, Emily almost cried when he handed her the final letter. You are not responsible for these charges. A weight she had been carrying for months lifted from her shoulders, but the damage inside her wasn't gone. Nights were still restless. She replayed his words, his threats, the way he twisted love into chains. Some mornings she woke up afraid she'd see him waiting outside her door again. That was when she decided to try therapy. At first, she sat stiffly in the chair, arms crossed, eyes on the floor, saying the words out loud. He stole from me, he lied, he broke me, made her chest ache. But the more she spoke, the lighter she felt. Week by week, she learned to untangle the guilt from the truth. It wasn't her fault. She hadn't deserved it. Her therapist helped her rebuild small things, trusting herself, setting boundaries, remembering she had value beyond what she could give others. Healing wasn't quick, but every session was a step forward. One quiet evening, Emily sat at her desk with an application form open on her laptop. Law school, the dream she had almost lost. Her hands hovered over the keyboard as fear whispered in her ear. What if you're not ready? What if you fail? But another voice answered, stronger this time. You survived Marcus. You fought back. You're ready for anything. She typed her essay slowly, pouring her pain into determination. She wrote about justice, about resilience, about standing up even when it felt impossible. When she pressed submit, her chest filled with something she hadn't felt in a long time, pride. Life didn't transform overnight. She still worked long hours, still had quiet nights when the memories stung. But each day she reclaimed a little more of herself. She laughed more with Jasmine. She cooked dinner with her mother without flinching when Marcus's name came up. She looked in the mirror and saw not just scars, but strength. Emily had been betrayed, humiliated, threatened. But she had also fought, survived, and grown. Piece by piece, she was building a new life, one no one could steal from her again. Emily sat on the porch with her mother, the evening air cool against her skin. For a long time they didn't speak. The silence wasn't heavy, just gentle, the kind that meant safety. Finally, Emily whispered, You were right about him. I should have listened. Her mother squeezed her hand. No, baby. Don't carry that. What matters is you listen to yourself in the end. That's what saved you. Emily felt tears sting her eyes, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from gratitude. She leaned against her mother's shoulder, feeling the warmth of home, the steady presence that had been with her through every storm. The next morning, Emily stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the blazer she had bought secondhand for this very day. Her heart pounded, but it wasn't fear. It was excitement, nervous energy mixed with hope. She picked up her bag, heavy with books and notebooks, and walked out the door. As she approached the law school building, sunlight glinted off the glass windows. For a moment, she thought of Marcus, of the lies, the stolen money, the threats. But instead of breaking her, those memories had built her. They had sharpened her will, carved her strength, and given her a reason to fight for justice, not just for herself, but for others. Emily took a deep breath, pushed open the doors, and stepped inside. Her scars were still there, but they no longer defined her. What defined her now was the choice she made to rise, to keep going, to believe in herself again. The chapter with Marcus was closed. A new one had begun. And this time, it was hers alone. Hey besties, thanks for sticking with me till the end of this emotional story. Imagine working day and night, only to find the person you love stealing your future. Painful, right? But betrayal can turn into power, and Emily proved that by rising stronger than ever. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, drop a comment, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. See you in the next one. Bye!